Hey everybody, it's Chad from NatureBox Pet Emporium. We're going to talk about plants today. I just got a shipment of plants in for the terrarium up front, so we're going to talk about these plants. We're going to go plant those plants, and we'll have a good time. So stick around and watch this video. So we're in the office, and I just unpacked this box. I was going to do an unboxing video, but I got so excited I just tore into the box, and I couldn't wait. Typical me, or any kid with a present that's wrapped, and you got to open it right now. But before we get into it, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you've made it this far, chances are you like reptiles, you like terrariums, you like tropical fish. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you see more of what we have going on over here in the Denver area. But enough with that. Subscribe button, hit the bell. And now enough with that. We're going to talk about these plants that I got. So these plants came all the way from San Francisco. They're shipped just like a normal reptile, except these can go priority mail instead of FedEx overnight. But what I got was, I got 6 different types of Nepenthes plants. If you don't know what a Nepenthes is, that is basically the tropical version of a pitcher plant. So you know what a Venus flytrap is, or if you're in like the South, you have those tall pitcher plants that grows in like bogs and swamps. The Nepenthes are typically like an Asian flavor of pitcher plant. So they look like a normal plant, but at the end of their leaves, they have long, slender pitchers that will trap insects for them. The reason for that is because they come from areas that have low soil nutrients, so a low density of nutrients in their soil, and or they will grow on like trees or up above, not in the ground. So because they're not in the ground, or they're in ground with a low nutrient density, that means they need fertilizer, they need nitrogen, they need protein, all those things that a normal plant has to have. If you gardeners are out there, you know what I'm talking about. Insects fulfill that need for the plant. So this one's a really cool picture I can show you. So right there, you can see that the pitcher is just about as large as the plant as a whole. That is their bug trap. So a bug, a fruit fly, a cricket, a beetle, a roach, whatever, will crawl into there, and the plant secretes juices that will break down that insect, and then it will absorb it into the plant, taking the nutrients from that insect and helping the plant grow. So just in general, Nepenthes plants typically will need strong light as well as high humidity. They don't do good in anything desert in any way, shape, or form. Rule of thumb is never let them dry completely out. Always keep them a level of moist. They have a very strong phototropic response, which if you don't know what that means, that's my $3 word for the day. Phototropism is a propensity to grow towards the light. So they're really fun because they kind of grow lengthy. If you have a strong light, I can show you when we go out to the tank. I have one pitcher plant in there that's veering a hard right towards the light. So they do like a good strong light. There's 2 forms of these, the lowland and the highland forms. Lowland forms don't need quite as much water, humidity, light as the highland forms. You know, compare them to reptiles, really. You know, is it a chameleon or is it a skink? You know, those type of same things. A lot of them come from the jungle, but the chameleon needs more light, more access to UVB, etc., more humidity, whereas the skink is a bottom dweller. It's not as important for them. So there's a lot of similarities there. And that's not where those similarities end. To get the different colors and sizes of pitcher plants, propagators have crossed them. So think of like a ball python. You know, you'll see on these, and I might be able to overlay some pictures of what these will look like in there. But this one, and I am not the Latin name producer here or pronouncer, so I will show you the picture and then I'll flash a picture on the screen of what it's supposed to look like. So this cross, this one I think is my favorite one. You can see the plant itself is about an inch or so tall, but the picture right here, it's got a really cool red, purple, green color to it. And the picture is like the size of the plant itself on this one, and it'll be a tall picture, big. And these are still small plants. So imagine when this plant gets big, you know, how big those pictures will be. This one is a Nepenthes Secret Gin. So the pictures on this plant, the plant itself is a bit smaller, but look at the size of the pictures. They have a very green with kind of a reddish hue pink. There's a lot of variegation and spikes on that picture. So that's pretty darn cool. And again, I'll show you these. I'll show you these plants when we get outside, and we'll put them in the terrarium. This one is the Nepenthes Jolly Victory. This is the smallest one I got. I think this is the one I'm probably the most excited about because the pictures look really neat. Once the plant matures a little bit, get my finger in there for a size reference, and hopefully the video is coming out okay and it's not just junk. But it's a little tiny picture, and I think they get a really cool round shape to them. And you can see, so it's a Nepenthes Jungle Bells times whatever this word is. So this is the cross of the plant. So like the male was the Jungle Bells, and then the female was that one. So those are the parents that make this pitcher plant. And then we got Nepenthes, some big Latin word that I'll show you on the screen that I definitely can't pronounce. Spathulata. That's my guess. This one doesn't have a lot of pictures growing on it. This side does have a picture on there. And then the immature pictures are like right here. And I'll show you those again once we go outside. And we have the Nepenthes Spectables type Vichy. I'm not sure what that is either, but you can see the pictures on this one. A little smaller, more green. In general, again, a really cool looking plant. Not a lot of texture on the pictures, a little more smooth. And last but not least, this one looks really neat. I'm not sure it'll come through while it's in the bag, but I'll show you outside. Oh, here we go. Here's a good one. This one is Nepenthes Zacharana times Tivoli. And you can see the picture right there, as well as the name. So let's take these out to the terrarium and we'll get into a little bit more detail about the plants. So here we are in the giant terrarium. If you haven't seen any of the other videos, we did have a playlist going, and we've kind of did a few videos as this terrarium progressed, but it's kind of done now, and we didn't follow through with that series of videos. Sorry about that. And we're going to go ahead and put some of these, well, not some of them, all these different Nepenthes inside of the terrarium. So I'll show you around and just show you a few of the plants that we have in here right now. And the Nepenthes can go anywhere in here. You can put them on the ground. What I would like to do more so is kind of put them like these creepy crawlies. You basically just put that long, the New Zealand sphagnum moss, and this is what the plants will initially root into. And once they grow out of this moss, they will root onto the surfaces of the terrarium like this moss right here. I think this is a Saginella, and you can see it's throwing out roots to grow into both the substrate as well as this bit of cork here. So let's get set up, and we'll I think I want some over here. Actually, I'll show you the other Nepenthes first. Open up the door. So this is a section of the terrarium that we still have a little bit of work to do. I have to put some texture on this silicone right here, put down some substrate, and I'm going to face this with a little bit of cork. Unfortunately, I'm getting a little seepage from the water onto the land side. So the whole purpose of this dam is to keep water from accumulating. I did pour some water in here, but you can see a little bit of standing water, and I don't want a whole lot of that. And what's happening is that there's just a little bit of bleed over from, the waterfall section over here. So I have to I'm going to put a piece of glass or something here to kind of block that off, so it'll trickle down back into the water section. But here's the larger unnamed Nepenthes that I have right now, and it's stuck in this cork hollow. So from here down, I stuff this full of sphagnum moss that's nice and moist because there's a misting nozzle pointed closely at it. And you can just see how that phototropism that I talked about before, it's going hard up because the lights are here and our big LED is right there as well. As the pitchers age, they'll start to get a little crunchy, a little crispy. This one is how it came to us, so it's a little older and a little beat up on these pitchers. But here you can see, I don't think this one will materialize. It might, but you can see the little tendril on the end of the plant and what is essentially just a baby pitcher. Here's a better look at one, if we can show you. There we go, against a dark background. So you can see it shoots off the tendril from the leaf, and then from that, the little pitcher plant will form, and they'll sit straight up. And usually will collect water if we pour it out. Yep. It'll collect water, and that's where the insects go. So as this pitcher plant develops, I expect it to send out a lot new or many more leaves with pitchers on it, and then you just kind of trim them back, and it ends up being kind of a long, lanky plant that's pretty darn cool. So let's plant some of the ones that we got. So most of these Nepenthes, I'm just going to call them pitcher plants, easier term. Most of these pitcher plants I'm going to put in things like this little cork hollow right here. I'm probably going to hang one right here. If I had some fishing line, which I don't, that would help me tie it on. But we'll be able to just kind of like jam it into crevasses, kind of like this right here. So we'll start with this jungle bells. So time to plant. I have the sphagnum moss that they ship these in a container of water right here. So I'm going to take the moss, stuff it generously in there after getting it nice and moist. And trying not to get it all over the store, which is always a challenge, because this moss likes to go everywhere, which is fine. So sticking it in the water, getting it rehydrated. And again, feeding it all directly in there. You're putting surface area, you're putting things for the roots to root into. You don't want it just in free air in this hollow tube. You want to fill it full of dirt, I guess you would call it. Just again, surface area for the plant to latch some roots onto. So we'll open up the container. They ship them in containers so that it stays nice and moist. I'm not sure, maybe I'll try and keep these somewhere in the terrarium, so if somebody asks what it is, I'll be able to tell them. But then you can see the roots, or rather probably not so much the roots. Yeah, so this is the whole plant. Well, this one I'll take off. I'll disturb the roots a little bit because it's the smallest of them. Root structure on these plants typically is very minuscule because there's not a whole lot to them. They're a fairly simple plant. And there you go. You can see these little black, you might be able to, hopefully it comes through on the camera. You can see these little black roots. That's it. That's the whole root structure for this plant. So when I took that plug out, I obviously didn't rip all the roots out. There's just all the little tiny fibrous roots and the cute little pictures on it. So we'll give this position where it's going to get light right here. It'll get some water, and it'll look awesome. So I'll just set it there. I'm going to get some more really moist moss, and I'll just lace it around it to secure it into place. So saturate the moss. This one really good. I'll pull the plant back out a touch, and we're just going to gently pack it in. And there you go, that's that. So there's one of the Nepenthes done. I'll stick this in here, so if anybody asks what it is, I'll be able to tell them. It's a Jungle Bells in Ventricosa. So 1 down, 5 to go. So this one's pretty cool because this picture has not opened yet. You can see it's still just a tube, and if the camera picks it up, you'll be able to see that the top, the lid, has not opened yet. So it still has to develop, and then that'll pop open. And then the same with this picture here and whatnot. But this is a much larger plant compared to that one, so it's further along. I would suspect that the root structure on this one will be a little more developed. So let's take her out, and yeah, you can see some of the roots throughout this one already. So there we go. So those dark spindly bits there, those are the roots of this plant. So you can see what the guys at the nursery did. They just went like that, and then they put it in this little, paper towel wrap to ship it. So that's the best way to get these shipped. And then if we were to put this in a pot, you'd basically just put this in a pot with more sphagnum moss around it, and then it would continue to grow. So let's find a place for this guy. So I'm gonna stick this guy right here inside this little notch of the wood, and I'm gonna sandwich the root ball that they sent in there pretty tightly, and then I'll take some more sphagnum moss and just generously add it around it. So there you go. There's kind of our initial placement of it. Got some more moss. I'm gonna soak it behind the camera, and then we'll wrap it around. If I had a gecko or something in here that was going to be really rambunctious and climb on it or around it or knock this off, you'd have to do something a little bit different. But as I don't have anything in here yet, and I don't plan on having anything in here for a month or so, that will definitely give these time to root in and to establish themselves, so that if a gecko were to like crawl on this, it wouldn't just ruin it and break it off. So that is that one. We will put the sticker down there. So again, if I ever want to breed these or somebody asks, I can tell them what it is. I have a bit of a precarious camera placement here, but I'm going to try and mount one here next to this Saginella, this moss, and kind of wedge it right here directly in the middle of the terrarium. So because I'm going to do that, I'm thinking about the placement of it. I'm going to use one of the ones that I think was really cool. So we're going to go with this guy right here. I'll take it out of the bag and we'll get a close-up look of this one. So check this guy out. How awesome this is. Look at the colors on the picture and the ribbing down there and just the texture of it. And then this one has another picture that's getting ready to go. That one might have been snipped off or something happened to it. And then another little picture here with more down in the crown of the plant that are gonna go shortly thereafter. So here's that cross again. Rather than me, gotta move it up. Rather than me butcher the name, there it is. And again, we're gonna try and put this one here, so as this plant grows, these pictures will drape down and look exceedingly awesome. So we'll take it out of the paper towel. Always be gentle, because you don't want to rip the roots. I mean, plants will regenerate roots, but you don't want to just destroy them. So again, you can see the root structure, as the moss falls out. All the moss at the bottom of that one, or all the roots rather. So there's the roots for that guy. Let me get some more moss. Hydrate the moss, and we're ready to rock and roll. So, yeah. So there's that. We got them wrapped around the ball, root ball of the plant. And again, we're just gently but firmly pushing it into that crevice. So there you go. You can see the pictures on the plant will continue to drape down and look awesome. Better look at it. So we're on the other side of the terrarium now. Scooted us over. That side got 3. This other side we will spread them around. I'm thinking putting one like maybe right here in this little area. I would really like to put one here in this hole. The only problem is that it really won't be seen for quite a while, or unless you're really tall. I'm 6 foot and I would struggle to see it, so it'll have to grow well up a little bit and then hang the pictures down, but it could be cool. And then I'm thinking one right here. So I don't have a camera hold. Well, maybe I can put it in a position where I can see a neat plant those. Let's give it a shot. I think we're gonna try and nestle that one right there. Take out the tag. Open up the paper towel. Which this one is giving me trouble. Stop fighting me. Okay, there we go. Take out some moss. And you want to use there's different grades of sphagnum moss. The long fiber A grade is always the best. So try and get that whenever you can. We sell it at the store, natureboxpet.com, or you can buy yourself some grade A long grain sphagnum moss. So there you go. You can kind of see it nestled in right there. And then I'm going to drape some more over the top. Lift up the pictures. Again, we're not breaking any of the foliage. Not breaking off any of the pictures. We're just seeding it in there nice and firm. So give it a good push. Seeds the whole plug in that little hole. Perfect. And then you'll be able to see over time it'll grow down and it'll look awesome. So that one, I didn't really show off the pictures. I'm not going to say they're not cool, but they're not as cool as this one right here, which get a little light on it. You can see the purples if it focuses, the purples and the greens and just the texture to those pictures. So there's that cross. This is the one, so it's either this one up top or this one up top. I'm thinking this one, but this one's a really pretty green. You can see all the spikes around the lip. And again, as these get bigger, these pictures will grow and they'll just look more and more awesome. They'll look cooler and cooler because not the topography, but just the texture and the color will get bigger as the picture itself, as the plant gets bigger. You just see more of it. So that's really cool. This guy, I think I'm going to put right here in the middle, and I'll just kind of jam this area right here full of sphagnum moss to hold it in place and to just give that a little bit more of a naturalistic look right there. I haven't gone back through and finished this section of the terrarium, so this will be a step in the right direction for me to do that. Again, we got the plug. We've got the plug in my hand, some moss to go around it. See how kind of I want to orient it. I want it this way. And I'll wrap the whole thing in this moss. And then just gonna set it and seed it right there. And get more moss and really kind of anchor it into place. So I got another handful, and that goes around the back. Try not to break any of the pictures. Looks like I could use a little more right there, or my finger can fit in between the plant and the wood. And be generous with this, you know, moss is not that expensive, so less is more. It looks good, especially if you're doing it for a naturalistic terrarium. So before and after, that looks much better. So the last one, let's figure that out. So the last one is called Fancy Tapestry. There's your cross. And I am going to put it up here on the top, up in that hole. The only thing I'm a little concerned about maybe too much light, but I don't think so. And the battery died. Oops, sorry about that. But you get the point. We did it 5 times. You don't need to see it a 6th time. The plants look great in there. We'll give them a few weeks to grow out, and then I'll probably shoot a little video showing you the updates. Maybe we'll tug on them and I can show you how they've rooted in. Maybe I'll give that a little bit more time before I start tugging on them. But we'll have an update in the future on how those are doing, as well as more plants that we put in that terrarium. So, thanks for watching the video. We appreciate the time that you give to us. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up button. Comment below if you've had any of those Nepenthes pitcher plants yourself, or if you have experience in general with carnivorous plants. Let us know what you think about them. Personally, we here think they're a lot of fun. I speak for everybody. Probably just about everybody in general. They're pretty awesome. But let us know what you think about them. Again, please consider subscribing to the channel if you've made it this far, and hit the bell notification so you get a bing when we have a new video. So we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.